Welcome to my VIPER guide for Corrode. This guide is meant to be short and efficient, but before we start, remember that on this map you play VIPER as a secondary controller alongside a Brimstone, Omen or Astral, so just bear that in mind. It's kinda like Bind if you have experience playing VIPER there. The goal of this short guide is to instantly teach you how to play VIPER walls and orbs on the newest map Corrode, so you can jump to ranked and just be efficient. Let's talk about the mid area. We want to do walls on mid that also have additional value, because that's what you get when you play VIPER. You can use your wall and have multiple pressure points. So one from the right, one from the left for each barrier. On the right side, we go into the corner over here. We point it into the direction of the B-link, and now we're able to do a multi-pressure wall. Once activated, on mid, we're able to gather a lot of space and build pressure by also creating a pocket for us here, so the opponents from top mid are not certain if someone's already breaching the area close to them. Not only that, we're also covering the A-link, and those players are also not certain if someone is crossing behind this wall over here. But even more importantly, when you go into the B main area, you can help now the team by just walling up, and the B-link is covered, which is pivotal to attacking on B side, because that's one of the locations that, in my opinion, you always need to smoke. The reason for always smoking this position is because the rotations are most likely happening through B-link for majority of the players, because the rotations otherwise are just taking way too long, so you cannot spare that time. The second mid wall we actually do from B main. So gonna just stand next to the wall over here, look in the direction of the castle, and put the wall around this area next to the tower, I guess. So now, with this wall, there's a little bit of leeway up to your liking, but once activated, it covers mid again very nicely, so you can build up the pressure of scaling up mid. And you also cover the A-link once you go a little bit deeper, and it allows you to check this corner without being exposed to the rest of this area. And also, when you attack now from A main, you can activate the wall to help a little bit by smoking up A-link. Now, few caveats. First and foremost, there's a lot of space where you can stand over here. And there's also a gap over here that you probably can almost never avoid unless you will do a gap somewhere else in this wall. That's unfortunately just how it works. So just be aware that there's a wavy wall that sometimes will have a gap. Now, there's another gap over here in this corner, but this actually is beneficial in my opinion. The reason for that is many people can be baited to stand in this corner. And because of the nature of the wavy wall, you're able to kill this person by just going into this corner and checking it slightly, because you will see that person first before they see you. Now, I really don't recommend using your orb for mid, but if you really want to, one of the angles that you can have is from this barrier over here at the beginning of the round. You look at this top, the tip of this, let's call it a spear. You put your edge of this right click icon like this over here, and now you jump throw, or also instantly. So jump and mouse one, and it lands on mid, and it covers the entire mid area from the player that is behind the barrier. Now the problem is this lands, in my opinion, too late, activates too late. But if you really want to use your orb from mid, here we go. So I don't recommend this. I would rather use the walls that I showed you before. Now let's talk about the B side itself. Now, I have few suggestions over here. If you want to have a lurking wall that builds up pressure on site, one of the options is gonna be something like this. Now you leave specifically space on the elbow, because you want the opponents to guess if someone is actually lurking or not. Now the entire point of this wall is to make sure that no one from heaven can see if you are going through behind this wall towards Cubby, and no one from B-link can know actually what's going on as well. Now, as I spoke about elbow before, you want this wall to leave the space here, so no one can stand over here without being uncertain of what's happening actually on the side if someone is sneaking behind this wall as well. Now, of course, you need to be aware that someone can be behind the wall, but that's something that you will know for sure. Now, if you don't want to use your wall for the lurk on B, you can use the orb instead, which is also very efficient, because now you can use the wall on mid, and the orb from the same point that I showed before here on the barrier will gonna go into the B main area. Now, your crosser goes exactly here, below this, whatever this is, and just a little bit lower over here. Now, when the barrier goes down, it's a little bit better visible. over here, left click, orb, and it lands perfectly, creating a lot of pressure when it comes to holding this side. Now, no one actually sees if you're going into cubby, if you're crossing, like there's so many angles that you have to hold. It's really uneasy for the opponents, right? This guy doesn't see anything. This guy from Link as well doesn't see anything. So it creates a lot of potential pressure. And if you combine that with your wall covering mid, you can see how efficient a Viper can be over here. Now a little bit more complicated lineup for the B tower. You stand in this corner over here, and now on the first, second, third one of the doors, you're gonna point out your fuel lineup over here. See this? The edge of this fuel line is aligning with the start of the third, whatever this is, on the door. Now, once you do this, like this, you're gonna jump throw, but the jump throw is very, very fast, which means you input the jump and almost instantly press fire at the same time, like this. When you do it correctly, the orb lands exactly in front of this carpet, and when you activate it, it covers everything perfectly. No one can stand on the ledge, and it is a very good smoke. Now, when it comes to the A side, one of the walls that I recommend is here. You go into this position on mid, on the flower, on this brick, you stand in front of it like this, and now you point the wall into this area over here. If you do it properly, it should align multiple points where you can benefit from all of them at the same time. Now, when you go towards A, you will most likely bait the person into standing behind this corner, so you can easily just spam through this, because now the person doesn't have anywhere to go, because he has to go through the wall back and get DK'd as well. Very easy kill. Now, when you go to side, you are covering the default spot, so you can plant more, let's say, safe. And also the person who would hug the box gets blinded by going through the wall. And not only that, if you decide to go through elbow, then the wall activated over here covers one of the most important angles, which is the 50-50 angle on the entrance. This is very annoying angle to clear. So when this wall is active, it helps you go forward through this elbow area. And it's not ideal. There's always gonna be a drawback whenever you do a wall on this map, but this gives you some possibilities when it comes to attacking from elbow. Now let's talk about defending A side. From the shovel over here in the corner, you're gonna have a wall lineup. We take a look at those 3 bricks, 1, 2, 3. We put our crosser, the middle of the crosser, in this area over here, like this. This is important because you aim at the box in the middle. So now you left click. It helps you hold the A side entrance. It helps you with the mid control, but also most importantly, it helps you with potential updrafts and TPs on the top of the box over here. So it's easier to hold it, because if they do it, they're gonna get affected by the DK on the top of the box. I think anchoring B side might be my favorite function as a Viper here on defense on Corrode, and it's very efficient as well, because once from this wall, you can just connect it with the wall on mid over here to create, again, multiple pressure point wall. So it covers your entire entrance, there are no gaps, and then you also help the player on mid with a pretty nasty wall that is hard to breach. And because of that, you have a better control of mid, which is, again, on this map is incredibly important. And with this wall on the main entrance, we can also put an orb on the middle of this side, on those white dots over here, like this. Once you do that, you're able to pop it on the middle of the site and have space for yourself, which cannot be easily breached, because players will get DK'd by pushing onto site. So they're gonna be anxious as well when it comes to planting. So they don't want to do this in this position. And you also have a smoke for yourself for retaking if the plant was actually happening in this area. Now, the challenging thing here is that you need to correctly manage your fuel, because, well, if you pop those both at the same time, they barely last. So you need to understand when to pop the wall, when to pop the orb, accordingly to context of what's happening in the round. But this is a very powerful setup. Just remember that when you play Viper, you have some flexibility, right? So maybe instead of using the wall, if you don't want to help the mid player, you can just use your orb in the entrance, because that is more efficient when it comes to defending a site, because the orb just gives so much more DK damage than a wall. And then you can keep the wall. That's an important point. You can keep the wall for retaking on the other side of the map. So if I'm anchoring the B side and I have the orb in the entrance, then I keep the wall, I don't use it till I rotate actually to the other side, and then depending where the spike is planted on the A side, I can use the wall accordingly to help with retaking the site. Now the point is, you always want to have your wall in front of the spike. So if the spike is planted over here, you want to have a wall that covers that spot. So for example, something like this will be beneficial because the spike is gonna be here and you can cover anything. You don't have to be super precise. The point is that the wall needs to be in front of the spike, so you can pop the wall and get half the fuse and force your opponents to either spam through the wall or push onto you. And if you play the A side and you want to keep your wall for retaking, then use your orb here on the tracks. Now you have a great orb for defending the A main area if they want to breach your site. So much DK damage, very hard to go through. And if you retake, you can actually go through the A link, and once you go into the mid area over here, you can use your wall to not only help you go through mid area, but also cover the B main entrance. So you can do this. So now you can go through the mid area, helps you rotate, although remember, this is very tough to do because you need to run because the map is so big and someone can just peek from that wall and kill you. But once you go through the link towards the B side, at least you have a wall for retaking from the main. When it comes to ulting on this map, I actually advise to just ult from the B side over here, because the thing is, when you ult on the B side, you're able to hold the entire entrance yourself, and then you cover the part at least of the site as well, in case people are gonna go through mid area. And the thing is, if you ult anything else, if you ult the area on mid, if you ult the area in A yard, you can be pinched very easily, and then the opponents will still plant outside of your control. So I would highly advise to use the ultimate here on the B side rather than anything else until we get like the meta really cleared up on what's happening here. Hope you enjoyed this quick Viper guide, and check out the other guides on the channel because all of this educational content is made for you.